Hello everyone, this is Nimish. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about Lokah Chapter 1, Chandra, the latest blockbuster, the Onam blockbuster from Kerala. This is the latest superhero movie, a female superhero movie. I've reacted to the teaser and trailer of this on my channel. It stars Kalyani Priyadarshan and Naslen in the main roles. It is directed by Dominic Arun and seeks to be the first movie in a multi-movie series related to superheroes. So, how was this movie? Well, as you might have heard, it is already a blockbuster. And as I always say, the audience in Kerala will not make something a blockbuster if it does not make sense. And this movie grounds itself in extremely high quality in every single department. It starts with the storytelling, and what's on paper, the writing, absolutely fantastic. It gets the cinematography, the visuals, how to convert the writing into reality, the set design, the VFX, all of that attained in a limited budget, absolutely commendable. And of course the finishing touches are by the actors, who give very natural, very character driven performances in this movie, and all of that is presented with beautiful background music, beautiful sort of final touches, edits, the scenes, the way they've cut, the way they've released this full the film, mid credits, post credits, all of that stuff comes together in this absolutely wonderful part one of a multi movie series related to superheroes that are rooted in the folklore of Kerala. What makes this movie special, especially for the Kerala audience who have grown up listening to some of these stories, is the connection the movie draws with those folk tales. The characters that everyone has heard growing up, the characters, especially in Kerala, and that you know from different books or different comics, or your parents or grandparents telling you stories at story time when you were a child, or discussing with each other. Something like Odeon, right? That is a cultural thing in Kerala, a story that people have heard growing up, and a movie was made. Similarly, this superhero movies goes back to those roots, and I think that is sort of extremely exciting for the Malayalam audience. For the non-Malayalam audience like me, who does not know and did not grow up with these stories, the film still stands amazing. It's still done very, very well. What I liked a lot about this film is it did not have a straightforward, predictable plot. The film had things happening back to back continuously. But however, it did not go into the classic hero villain type story. You didn't think that, okay, this guy's the main villain, he'll be defeated at the end, and so on. There was no like typical graph for the movie. It just seemed like sequence after sequence after sequence. You don't know what to expect next, and that's what kept you so excited throughout this movie, because there was no clue of where this movie is going next. It could go in any direction, and it definitely went in several directions. And that's, I think, something that I noticed throughout the movie, that I cannot, if you pause the movie, at any time, or you stop and ask someone, okay, what's going to happen next, you will not be able to tell where this movie is going. So that to me was a fantastic sort of achievement of the writing, because being a superhero movie that we've seen so many of them from so many different parts of the world at this point, including Kerala itself, there's always some sort of baseline template, but that was not followed in this movie. The first half of the movie starts in extremely rooted, typical Malayalam film vibe. Like, it's just a story. There are characters, they are meeting, they are talking, small things are happening. There are indications of what's going to happen next. The build up is very, very well paced, very relaxed. No one's rushing to sort of dramatic events until you reach the interval block, and slightly post interval, that's where the film picks up like crazy. I was absolutely baffled, especially with Vijayaraghavan's portion, where he's telling the story of Neeli. That entire portion was incredible. It was phenomenal. It's my definitely the favorite sequence of the movie. That was just unpredictable, came out of nowhere. You thought the movie is going in one direction, and then when you hear the Neely story, you realize this movie is completely something you did not imagine it to be. And so that was absolutely fantastic. So kudos to how they marketed this film as a superhero movie, but then took that sort of connection to Neely, took the connection to sort of a completely different vibe, which I'm not going to spoil right now, and sort of then added the other layers, the other characters in the second half with that lens. It was simply incredible to watch that sort of transformation. So I love the interval block. Generally speaking, about the cinematography, it has fantastic from the first scene. Cinematography, set design, have been critical in this movie because you have to get those right, costumes as well, and those were done incredibly well. In a lot of movies, you'll feel like the neighborhood that's been established is a set. You can actually see it's a set, and a lot of times it's very distracting. But in this one, you genuinely don't feel at any given point that anything there is a set, anything there is made up, anything there is a shooting location. So the natural elements that have been brought in to make this movie, and to layer on the perfect cinematography to capture that environment, that world, is absolutely incredible. What's also interesting is, and I don't know if I missed this, but they don't necessarily tell you which year this story is based in. It seems like it's a story of today, yet the world they've created, which they, supposedly is Bangalore, the Bangalore world they've created with the sort of lights, the way the cinematography is planned, the way the visual design is planned of this film, makes you think this is futuristic. Yet it's not. So that vibe and the environment that they've created to make Bangalore look like not Bangalore, is also something very commendable. I highly enjoyed that portion of the movie and the setup as well. But other than that, the performances are definitely on point. Naslen is always fantastic. He's always incredible in all the roles that he does. So he did a great job here as well. Kalyani Priyadarshan has always been a natural actress. I think she suited the part and she killed it and she nailed it. Without getting into true spoilers, I'm not going to get into like actual very clear spoilers. However, some of this might seem spoiler to you. So if you have not watched it, this is where you stop watching and you know that I enjoyed the movie. But if you continue watching to my mild, sort of censored spoiler version of the remaining conversation, for those of you who have watched it, you know that in the second half, several characters are introduced, including the mid-credit sequence and then the post-credits. Um, there's a goblin character that is extremely entertaining, and I think part 2 might be about the goblin character, and I'm definitely looking forward to that. It's going to be a blast to watch. It's, sort of continues with the world building. I want to see what happens to Chandra, I want to see what happens to the goblin, and then the ninja, in the mid credit ninja that we all know. Want to see how this sort of journey carries forward in film number 2 or 3, and I think this is a 5-part film. So we're all waiting to see who the Muthon is and who the ultimate villain will be for all of these Avengers, so to speak, and where this progression goes. So very excited for those parts as well. The way that the Goblin was introduced in the second half and where and when he popped up, extremely entertaining, extremely well written, and the VFX and all of that used was just seamless. The fact that this movie is done in 30 crores is beyond belief. I cannot imagine how, and it's just testimony to see like the best quality films can be made with that budget. What I will say is, because of the strong rumors of who the producer is and who some of the performers might be in this film, some of those appearances that we saw in the second half were not as surprising or shocking as they would have been if we genuinely did not know anything about this film or who produced it or what the rumors were. In today's world, it is really hard to keep out that kind of a rumor. It sort of somewhere helps build the hype as well. So there is a willingness of leakage of certain information. But I think even with or without gossip, one could have guessed the top 3 people that might have been in this film, and those appear to be the people that were in the film. So I would say that impact was reduced. That doesn't make anything bad, but the impact of their appearance was reduced because we kind of knew they would be there. Now, what they can do better in the next films is, now that those have gone by, nobody is probably going to be able to predict who the other stars are going to be. If you keep that lip sealed and keep that completely tightly locked secret for the next 4 films, those appearances might be way more sort of whistle blowing moments, cheering moments. The hype for those cameos in the future might be way more than in this one. But that's something I thought was weirdly interesting about how I was happy about the cameos, but at the same time felt like I kind of knew. So I needed more from that impact perspective. All in all, this is a great chapter 1 for a multi-part movie series. It will entertain you thoroughly. Not a single moment is boring. Cinematography by Nimish Ravi is absolutely incredible. Background music is superb. Direction, storytelling is thought out to a point where they know from the first movie what the last movie will look like, and so that detailed planning, the detailed storytelling is going to make more and more impact as we see more part of the movie. Performances, as I said, were on point. Special appearances keep you wanting for more and wanting for more sequels. So lots more to come in this universe. This is the Onam blockbuster. As I said, it is absolutely incredible what they have achieved from a superhero movie perspective, with that budget, with that cast, with just coming out as a smaller budget film but yet looking like a pure Hollywood piece, is just incredibly commendable. So huge congratulations to the team of Lokah for the mind-blowing success that it has achieved, and it will go down in the books as the first amazing female superhero movie, modern day superhero movie film that we saw in India, and a start to something absolutely incredible, a five-part series by Dominic Arun. So cannot wait to watch much more, hear much more, learn much more about this world. Going with 4 stars for Lokah. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and keep watching for much more.